Welcome, one and all, to the Friday. I'm forgetting how to do this. The Friday, January 7th, 2022 installment of the Signals from Mars live stream. We have Jeremy in the UK checking in. Evening, all, and Happy New Year. Absolutely. The first new show of the year. I forgot to light the shelves up behind me. One moment. There we go. See, getting back into the swing of things, and some things you remember, some things you don't remember. Mr. Rob Rowe, how are you, sir? Happy New Year. Jose in Connecticut, Feliz Año Nuevo. Yes, Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year, everyone. Yes. I had Brad Dahl checking in on what's up as well, saying that he won't be able to join us today because he is working and it is nuts here. So shout out to Mr. Brad Dahl, all the poison control people in Utah, and all of you people that are watching this at work, listening to it at work, listening to the replay, watching it live, taking part of this live. Thank you for being here in 2022. And to kick things off this year, we are doing a Ask the Host episode. And you know what? I'm going to screen capture this, Jeremy. Oh, damn it. Hold on. Screen capture Jeremy's message and send it to Brad. He's trying to retire, actually. So I just sent it to him. Let's see if he responds. Anyway, so tonight's episode is Ask the Host. I had some of my patrons. Well, I asked my patrons any questions you want to ask for the Ask the Host segment. And some of them submitted questions. Maybe I should have bugged people like I do with my album lists and band lists and all that to get a more questions, but we've got plenty here to talk about. And if not, you guys can fire away in the chat as things go on here. So right off the bat, Mr. Jeremy Weltman from the UK was the first person to chime in. So we will go with his questions first. Have you any interesting interviews lined up? Yes, I have my patrons on the 21st to talk about their top 10 favorite live albums. Outside of that, I don't have anything lined up yet. Who would you like to have on? Mike Jones actually asked a similar question. And I guess what I asked him, I mean, these are definitely out of my playing field, but Nicko McBrain from Iron Maiden, Ozzy Osbourne, or he retires, or or other. Ace Frehley might be interesting, only because he's the guy that got me into music when I was a kid. But I've had a recurring dream for years. And not that I think of this in real life all the time, but I have these really wild fleshed out dreams where I'm interviewing Lars Ulrich. And they go into these really in-depth, musical, nerd, conversations and stuff. So it's really, really interesting. Or I wake up and I'll be laughing. I'm like, yeah, that's never happening. So there's that. Have you any records on order? Okay, so I do have the Lucid by the Lucid on order. It won't get here till April. And I want to order the new Return to Earth album because I've had links to it since October, and I think the album is amazing. And it is a front runner for best album of 2022. So whenever the pre-order for that becomes available, I will probably order that. Okay, most valuable item in your collection and which means the most to you and why? So, today, unlike other times where I don't tend to be prepared, and Jeremy is, most valuable possession. Okay, um, Velveteen by the Transvision Vamps. I want to see your expression, Jeremy. Does that get a rise? Does that get any sort of reaction out of Mr. Weltman? Oh, I am. Oh, no, I'm messing with you. Well, that was ultra difficult to find in the U.S. because they weren't a big band. This is one that's kind of. This never came out in the States. This is Andy Taylor's Danger. Andy Taylor, former guitarist of Duran Duran, producer for Thunder, Rod Stewart, and a bunch of other things. So this has covers of Thin Lizzy's Don't Believe a Word, Stone Cold Sober, who I forget it was originally by, Feel Like Making Love by Bad Company, Lola by the Kinks, Space Station Number 5 by Montrose, Sympathy for the Devil by the Stones, Mustang Sally, don't remember, Violence, don't remember, Cocaine is J.J. Cale, I think, originally. Live Wire, which is AC/DC. But no, it isn't this as well either. This is something that was for years. I mean, Jeremy, you probably know what this is. This is the single for Running Free in Sanctuary by Iron Maiden. This is kind of a live unboxing here. Whoops, go the other way. Okay. This one is cool for the reason that, oh, wow. Uh-oh. Gatefold is coming undone in the middle. This is slipping out. So I have the entire box set on CD. This is the only one out of the vinyl that I have. But I did purchase, I believe, another one of these singles for some friends because they weren't available in the US. Okay, this is an album that was really important to me. K-Tel, Masters of Metal. So look at that. When I was in third grade, I was 10 years old, and Kim Gladish gave this to me. All right, so this album has Trashed by Black Sabbath, Mean Streak by Y&T, Breaking the Chains by Dokken, Who's Behind the Door by Zebra, Rainbow in the Dark by Dio, Screaming in the Night by Crocus, and side 1 finishes with Lick It Up by Kiss. Side 2, Street of Dreams by Rainbow, Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden, the first time I had ever heard Iron Maiden, Tom Sawyer by Rush, World of Fantasy by Triumph, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll by Twisted Sister, and Dancing in the Streets by Van Halen. This album is a huge deal for me because it introduced me to so many bands. I knew Sabbath from Paranoid and Iron Man, but Trashed is on a completely different level. It was my intro to Y&T. Dokken, Zebra was on MTV at that time. Dio was new to me thanks to this. Crocus was on MTV. Kiss, obviously I knew who they were. Rainbow, I knew who they were, but hadn't heard this song before. Run to the Hills, like I said, my intro to Maiden. I knew who Rush was, and Tom Sawyer I had heard a bunch of times on the radio. Triumph I've never been huge on. Sorry, Jerry. This was my intro to Twisted Sister, Steve. And Van Halen, I knew who Van Halen was. All right. One could go with the Japanese import of Live After Death. Now, I purposely pulled this out because on the 21st, we are doing top 10 live albums of all time. So if you want to submit your list, become a patron and do so. This should be a fun episode. All of the patron episodes are fun, but I tried to look up on Discogs to see what the most valuable from a money standpoint album is in my collection. It doesn't give that information, so I'm not exactly sure. But to me, this is my all-time favorite album. Just because of when it came out. I want to get the remastered version of this. This has been played to hell. There are skips in it, much like the Masters of Metal has this really deep scratch in it. This was given to me. There's so many reasons why this album is important. This came out in October of '82. My grandfather had passed away, and my grandmother gave this to me for my birthday. And this is my all-time favorite album. Has my all-time favorite song on it to kick the album off, and it is Creatures of the Night by Kiss. So, from an emotional standpoint, it's my most valuable album in my opinion, just because of that. So, I probably have some like weird limited edition stuff that is probably more valuable than that, but from an emotional standpoint, just because how often I listen to that album, that's the most important to me. And instead of the Transvision Vamps, I almost pulled out Frankie Goes to Hollywood Liverpool, which is at the complete opposite end of the spectrum from Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, which to me is a masterpiece, believe it or not. But Liverpool falls way short of that first album. But anyway, I may have lost my metal cred with some people now, but is what it is. Jerry, will you ever just walk away from your patron fans and not say goodbye? No, wrong sample. I meant to play this one. Boom! Jerry did the mic drop. If I have to walk away, I think that being the person that I am, I would do a better job of what Jerry's alluding to. I would hope that I would. I hope that I wouldn't leave people disappointed and I would still continue to do something unless I'm legally not able to do what I'm doing right now to some capacity. Because there are ways and ways of doing things. I mean, now with Patreon, I have to look into this. I can actually do a live stream on Patreon that's just for people on Patreon. So there are so many ways of doing things that I think would be kind of on the DL where you wouldn't get in trouble. But what do I know? I'm not in a position to have NDAs and stuff like that thrown at me at the moment. We'll see. Although there may be something down the road where I have been offered something with the podcast, but it wouldn't prevent me from podcasting, but making money with the podcast. So we'll see. There may be some changes as a result. So my answer to you, Jerry, is no. I would say goodbye. So I would be I would not be like Bon Jovi, as Mike Jones pointed out. Never say goodbye. Not a huge Bon Jovi fan, so sorry. What is your favorite Led Zeppelin album? So, taking a page out of Jeremy Weltman's book, I've come prepared today. I've listened to Zeppelin so much in my life, specifically what I'm going to show you guys. And it's all thanks to my brother Art, because he got this album. It was before Coda came out. Both of these, he got them before. Led Zeppelin 4. is just such a massive album. Um, this is the original print, and I think on Discogs it says it may be like the third or fourth print of the album, so it isn't the original, but it was printed in the 70s. Has has the old humidity smell to it from being locked away for some years in a very humid place before I was able to get my hands back on them. So Led Zeppelin 4 is huge, but also Jerry, right there with you. Physical Graffiti. Just so cool as a kid getting this, pulling this out. I mean, all right, so these are the windows. Hello. Um, but yeah, this is like crazy stuff. How stuff was put together so that it would make you want to go out and purchase it. Where as a kid you would take the letters away and put, the images in there. And you would do things, where you would spend hours staring at this stuff. And I really think it's a lost art. That's why I will promote that Spirit Box album till the end of time, because because they did such a wonderful job remembering their fans and giving people a reason to buy the physical copy of it. I may show you guys something that Ryan J. Downey sent. He did it. Let's see if I can find this. It's within 108 emails that I have to look through for Patreon. But anyway, he sent this week from his Search and Destroy newsletter. It's a comparison between the top 100 hard rock, metal, and as he puts it, punkish artists, and how many albums they've sold in 2021 versus how many were streamed. Streams are obviously much greater. But so yeah, Jeremy's saying 4 is overplayed, but it's amazing. Absolutely. And yep, Physical Graffiti, some of those songs are epic. Absolutely. That's the thing. I love Zeppelin so much, but I've heard it so much that it's one of these things where I can only listen to it like once a year. And after doing so, I'm like, wow, I really like listening to Zeppelin again. Let me play that again. And then I'll get to like half a song, like, yeah, we're going to put that on pause. So there you go. So Jerry says for him, it's Physical Graffiti and close second, Houses of the Holy. So I never owned the Houses of the Holy until I got it on CD. I bought that box set that had everything, and it was missing Coda. And the guy from the record store was like, oh, well, most people don't listen to that album. I'm like, I bought Coda. I bought it for my brother. He was pissed at me, I believe, because he wanted like Led Zeppelin or Led Zeppelin 2 or 3. Coda was something that at the time really hadn't come out. Other bands hadn't put out unreleased music like that. Some of the stuff was B-sides, some of it was demos up until then. And there's songs off of that I really like. Ozone Baby and Darlene and Wearin' and Tearin' are absolutely great songs. But so I went back to the store and I said, dude, Coda's missing. And he was like, well, I'll give you $10 of store credit. I'm like, the hell am I going to do with $10 store credit? I just spent $100 on a box set for when it's not complete. So I returned it. He gave me, the full $109, I think it was. And I went and I bought it somewhere else. It just annoyed me so much. That was Wow Music in Jersey City, New Jersey. But yeah, the store was cool otherwise. Let's see. So Jose, who is here with us tonight. Hello, sir. Hello to the wife and kids. They happen to be watching as well. So happy New Year, Victor and all. How was the break? very busy. The break was busy because I talked to you guys on here about the shenanigans going on with my son's basketball. And the night that everything transpired, I guess I was in a fury. So I signed up without remembering on the Federation here's website for the province where I live. And the beginning of December, I received an email saying, "Hey, you signed up or you had interest in becoming a certified coach. Classes start up on the 22nd of December. Are you interested?" And the price was 70 euros. I said, "Sure, why not? For 70 euros, something else to add to the resume, a larger net to cast, and then I've got some backup if I need to raise a stink about things." So I did the course, supposed to be 21 days. I did it in 6 days roughly. I took Christmas off, but I powered on through it, being that my kids are home and actually my wife was home because there was a COVID scare with my oldest son's class. And because my wife works in the food industry, she wasn't allowed to go to work until he had a negative PCR. So because of that, I took advantage and I did all 204 classes or sessions in 6 days. And I got 96 percentile for 99.6, 96% correct out of all the tests that I took, including some whopping 100 plus question tests, which took me anywhere from an hour to 3 hours to do, but I did it. And being that that I was doing that, I wondered, I wonder if there's any sort of certification that that I can sign up for in the States. So it turns out that USA Basketball offers a few, and I did those as well. So I'm a certified basketball coach. Well, I did the theory part here in Spain. We'll see where that takes me. And at least I have a gold certification in the US, which basically comes down to paying X amount of money and doing the training. So there you go. Were the Three Kings good to you this year? Well, this year was a t-shirt year. Usually I get a lot of vinyl and a lot of Blu-rays and stuff like that, but they're really, with COVID and with the Suez Canal issues getting vinyl supplies, there weren't the usual 3 for the price of 2 deals that the past few Christmases have had. But there was a lot of cool t-shirts. Iron Maiden, to be specific. Let's see, we can kind of see this. So this is the Trooper. This is a Marvel Iron Maiden crossover. So I got this. I got one with Wolverine and Eddie from the Killers cover. I'm trying to think of the name of the brand, but it's like it looks like a deteriorated style with the Somewhere in Time Eddie, and then another one is with a alternate take on the Power Slave. Got those. And then my wife actually had 2 shirts custom made for me. One was half of it was half of Dwight Schrute's face from The Office, and it says Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. And the other one is Prince, and it says blouses at the top, and it says pancakes at the bottom. So we split those up between Christmas and yesterday, or the 6th actually, which is the coming of the 3 wise men or the 3 kings, depending on where you are, which for most people outside of the US, Christmas doesn't bring presents. So being that my kids are being kind of raised in a hybrid house here, We do half and half. And it works in their favor because they get stuff on Christmas. They can enjoy it throughout the break, where most of their friends get presents on January 6th, which was Wednesday. And yeah, and then on Monday they go back to school. So they haven't they really wouldn't get to enjoy a lot of their stuff. The break also entailed playing Fortnite with them, getting shot up by a lot of kids their age, shooting kids, and them being surprised that I knew what I was kind of doing. I said, "Hey, I played shooters before. Not my favorite, but we also did the we also used, or yeah, I'm reading my cousin's message here. In Ponce, we used to get presents on both days. It's cool. Jeremy says the trooper reminds me of Signal's beer glass arriving this morning. Oh wow, awesome! That's cool. I will show it off on the patron special. That's cool. I want to order one of those myself. So we'll see people showing off merch. Jerry bought the 13th anniversary t-shirt as well. So there's that. And where was I going? Oh, we also yesterday, my kids, we try to play board games and stuff with them, do all these family events, and we watched AC/DC's Let There Be Rock while we were playing Scrabble and stuff like that. So plenty of stuff with my kids. Plenty of nice walks as well. It's been great, the weather. Anyway, do you have plans for this year's podcast you can share with us? Well, we were just the original idea was to do Ask the Host, which we're doing today. Next month, doing a band discussion. And in March, doing the 1982 discussion. And then, switching it around. Then Jerry came up with the idea of doing the top 10 live albums. I thought it was cool. So we're going to do that later this month. We'll vote next month for what band we talk about, and then we'll do the year one after that. And hopefully in between, I'll have some cool guests on here. There's really nothing planned out yet because outside of doing the Spotify shows that I did last week and doing some of the Patreon stuff, I kind of detached myself from everything for a few days. So, who got the prize from the Roscon this year in your family? That would be my wife. She's the only diehard Roscon eater. Roscon it looks like a Christmas wreath, but it's like a giant bagel, not really a bagel because it's kind of a cake, like a pound cake. In the middle, it can be normal or it can have various fillings, can be just like whipped cream, can be truffle, can be chocolate. And then it has like candied oranges and gumdrops and stuff like that. And on the inside, there's small statues. They're like thumbnail sized statues. They can be everything. I mean, historically, they're religious things from the manger, but we've had Phineas and Ferb in past years and stuff like that. And this year, it's been kind of traditional. We had two. We ordered one, and it turns out that when my kids went to go see the three wise men before they came at night, they gave us a free one from the same place that we went to. So, is what it is. But yeah, my wife is the big Roscon eater, so she's the one that got them. My kids aren't that big into them, and I've never been particular. I don't mind like the truffle one, but I've been told to stay away from sweets, and I have a doctor's appointment next week. So until that appointment, I will continue to do so. Let's see. Mike had an interesting one. Made me really delve deep into the website and And I kind of answered part of his question with what Jeremy said or what Jeremy asked. But so he had, who is your Mount Rushmore of interviews? Either folks you have already interviewed or those you really want to. So I mentioned those that I want to. And yeah, I don't know if El Corte Inglés is actually selling roscones with large prizes or not. Probably trying to get people in the door. But well, historically, I will say this. Historically, some places to get you to come in and buy theirs, there would be money in there. So it would be like wrapped in like a small plastic bag. It would be stuffed after it was cooked, obviously. And because they open it to fill it, they cut it in half to fill it. So there would be money there. But you know, who knows? Maybe they have done it. But so I have a lot of honorable mentions here for interviews that I've done. And it was weird reminiscing because there's a lot of interviews that I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I did speak to that person, didn't I? So I spoke to John Schaefer here in Bilbao, Spain. That one I didn't forget. Spoken to Richard Christie a few times from Charred Walls of the Damned, Iced Earth, and the Howard Stern Show. Spoke to Blaze Bayley once, Dave Windorf of Monster Magnet, Kirk Winstein of Crowbar, Michael Kiska of Halloween, Paul Shortino of Rough Cut and This Is Spinal Tap movie, Stephen Piercy of Rat, Rex Brown of Pantera, both complete dicks to me, Jack Russell of Jack Russell's Great White and formerly of Great White. He was great, but he probably broke the record of saying, you know what I mean, about 1,000,001 times. Bobby Rock, who currently plays for Lita Ford, played for Vinnie Vincent. It was a really cool interview. At least in my group of podcasters, I was the first one to speak to him. Richard Patrick of Filter, who pisses me off because he ripped me off $100, but still a big deal for me to interview him then. Monty Pittman, who I absolutely love his solo work. To me, that's an amazing. Every time that I've spoken to him has been amazing. Chris Penny of Return to Earth, who I just spoke to recently. That was a big deal. Guy from the next town over, a band that made it big, and he's, you know, a well-known soundtrack producer now. Ron Scalzo from Return to Earth as well. Ron has always been great to me. Bumblefoot, part of that whole family. Ron Thal, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Frankie Banali, the late great drummer of Quiet Riot. Doro Pesch, Brant Bjork, Tim Ripper Owens, Bruce Kulick, formerly of Kiss, George Lynch of Dokken fame, Udo. Spoken to Bobby Blitz from Overkill. I've spoken to Vinny Appice and Carmine Appice. I've spoken to Tommy Victor from Prong, Chuck Billy from Testament, Gene Hoglan, who currently plays in Testament. He's the reigning longest defending interview I've ever done. Alan Robert and Joey Z of Life of Agony. Joey actually showed up when I did a show with Mark and John from Talking Metal with them in New York. Chris Poland from Megadeth fame. David Ellefson, Frank Bello of Anthrax, Phil Rind of Sacred Reich was an interview that I was after for the longest time. Dave Meniketti of Y&T. Now, I'm realizing that isn't up on my site. So I may make that a Patreon exclusive, or I may actually have like a flashback episode there. I don't know what happened to that. I know it went out as a Talking Metal interview as well, as a way to get people to check my podcast out. Dan Lorenzo and Alan Tecchio of Hades and Nonfiction and all the various bands they're a part of. They've always been great to me. Bob Nalbandian. Bob Nalbandian, I consider a friend. And there's no reason why I should know this person. He knows all the Metallica guys. Dave Mustaine, he's part of heavy metal and hard rock royalty. And he's someone that I can reach out to and chat with on almost every occasion, or any occasion, I should say. There's a lot of podcasters I can throw into this group as well. People like Chris Aiken, like Mark Striegel, and people like that. So, Eric Klubert currently of Void Vader, who's been on this show more than anyone else. Him and someone else that I will mention is up there. And Joey Vera would be an honorable mention as well. Joey has always been awesome. But my Mount Rushmore, which is 4, would have to be Max Cavalera. Oh, shit. I forgot to mention Andreas Kisser. Andreas Kisser was also an awesome interview. That was a big deal to me. But Max Cavalera, Charlie Benante of Anthrax, Dee Snider, which was my first interview ever back when I was 19. And number 1, I mean, clear number 1, John Bush. It's not even close. So Bush is my favorite person to interview by far. But I can't believe it when I look at that list. And hey, this is a discussion that Mark has had with me plenty of times. You need to get bigger guests. You need to get bigger guests. You need to get bigger guests. Some of these guests, yes, I would consider big guests. Others, maybe not so much, but they're still awesome people to speak to. Jeremy, yeah, you know from following my stuff that it was going to be John Bush. But a lot of amazing people that I've gotten to speak to in 256 episodes. Today, I just released an interview that I had done. It was actually over a month ago with Marion from the band. I can't pronounce the damn name right. Okay, here it is. I was saying affinimer, but she was saying affinimer. So there you go. Just released that today, episode 256. So amazing that I've come this far. 256 episodes. Should be more, obviously, since we're entering year 13. But it is what it is. Or actually, year 13 starts in September, but 2022 is the 13th year I've been podcasting. And I mentioned before, people I want to interview, Nico McBrain would be awesome. Ozzy, Ace Frehley, Lars Ulrich. There's a ton of other people that would be awesome. These are obviously out of my pay grade, but whatever. 5 U.S. food items that I miss most living in Spain. And this is something that Brad asked. If I'm going strictly food, and this is kind of hard because a lot of this stuff I can get here or I can make it home, but there's some of it that I can't. Clam chowder. Clam chowder is one thing that I really like and can't get it here. Jambalaya, which is something that we actually make here with a what is it called? A slow cooker, is it called? Damn it, I forget the name of what the actual crock pot. There you go. I bought a crock pot when they were first introduced a few years ago. They actually sell them here. And they're used here because a lot of people use them to make beans, actually. But we've used ours quite a bit to make jambalaya. We haven't in some time, and I think we need to remedy that. Cheesesteaks is something that I have not had in well over 10 years. So I'd really love to have a cheesesteak. And finally, pizza. Good pizza. Good pizza from the New York tri-state area. How about that? Although when I've had pizza in Vegas, it was good the time we had been there. And now from what I'm hearing, pizza in California and stuff like that is pretty good as well. If we're talking about other foods that aren't usually available here, I would throw Twizzlers in there. I would throw sour cream in there. Trying to think of what else. Surprisingly enough, they actually sell Reese's peanut butter cups here as of like a month ago. Go figure. And to top it off, they have it in the damn section for the import bodybuilding stuff. So I don't know if that's because it's used for protein or what the story is there, but nonetheless, it's available for now. Trying to think what other food could I could possibly mention. I ordered Pop Tarts. I mean, these are all sugary foods and stuff that I have every so often, obviously. But they're, callbacks to home. They they've been selling bagels here on and off for years. We look to be back on again, and actually that's something for my illnesses or my stomach illness that actually helps quite a bit. So we have that. Yeah, no Taylor ham over here, but make up with it with bacon. So there you go. Guys are making me think about making some food truck food truck breakfast this weekend. Some bacon and eggs on a bagel with some salt, pepper, and ketchup. There you go. Just something about that combo. This reminds you of home. At least it does for me anyway. What else? Those are all the questions that these guys asked me on Patreon. Pastrami on rye. I don't know if I've ever really had a pastrami on rye. I was big on bacon, lettuce, and tomato, BLT, but I can make that here. I know how to make the sauce for it. The sauce. Which is mustard, mayonnaise, Tabasco, and tarragon. Is that right, or am I mixing that up with tartar sauce? It may be ketchup instead of Tabasco. But if I'm making, Steve Hoker said that they had patatas bravas down in Disney World, and they weren't a fan of it. And I told him it was probably because the brava sauce wasn't good. But I mentioned that your typical brava sauce is mayonnaise, mustard, Tabasco, ketchup, and it's sometimes rosemary, or the patatas are sometimes made with rosemary. It all depends. Yeah, Jeremy, same thing for me. So we may have to bring back the recipes, which I did way back when. Might start doing a monthly recipe for Patreon. We'll see. But yeah. Any other questions? If not, I've got some questions of my own to ask you guys, which I may actually ask on Patreon on Monday, but figured I'd throw these out here if we didn't fill out the hour. But yeah, Jose has no problem. He's probably making a good old tortilla. There you go. So Rob is saying that he is a chef. Rob, what kind of food do you usually make? Oh, no kidding. How do you get the palacios up in your area? Is there a place up in Connecticut that sells it? I mean, given that Connecticut, the Boston area has a lot of Portuguese people. I mean, I would think that Palacios wouldn't be difficult to get. Palacios is a brand that's from the area of Spain where I'm from. And my brother, who recently started working in Florida, actually works for a family that imports a lot of stuff from Spain. So one of the perks for him is that he can now, by going to Florida, he's around supermarkets that have a lot of food from Spain. So, whereas in New Jersey, You can go to Newark, for example, but I mean, you're between parking and what it takes to get there and everything. It isn't the easiest sometimes, but I guess it's easier than flying to Miami, but is what it is. Okay, so you used to get it at Stop and Shop, and then they stopped. Yeah, that sucks. It was funny because I had this discussion with my mother with the American food that I'm buying here is obviously more expensive than what it is in the States. Like I'm buying a box of Pop Tarts for like $9, and in the States, they're probably like 3. I'm buying a pound of Twizzlers for about 18 to $20, and it's probably like 10 there. But you have to figure out that the stuff's being imported here, they're shipping. So, I looked up. She said, I want to see if they have these types of peppers in the US. I looked up on Amazon. Yeah, they have them. And I said they cost $22 a jar. And my mother was like, "No, but that only costs 3 here." I'm like, "Right, but it's getting shipped there. They're paying import taxes." So there's that. Um Rob says I love steaks and stuffed chicken. Well, that's cool. I've made stuffed turkey before, for Thanksgiving anyway. Let's see. Brad says, "Looks like I got in at the perfect time." There you go, Brad. They have Ortiz sardines and ventresca de atún. Aha. So that's stuff that's very sardines and ventresca is tuna, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I'm on the water, or very close to the water, so there's a lot of fish that's well known throughout Spain that's from my area. The funny thing is, the best fish doesn't stay here. It goes to Madrid. It goes to the capital. So, and it's driven down in refrigerator trucks. It's a wild process. They bring it in, they take it to a market, it's auctioned off to the highest bidder, and then it's off in trucks to Madrid within a matter of minutes, basically, and or to local markets or wherever it ends up going, and it's a huge business. So, Brad, I hope the craziness has settled down. But yeah, any other questions before I hop into these 2 things that I have here? I'm paying probably 5 times as much as you do for sardines. Yeah. So see, it's same deal. So I have two two uh two posts that are similar. They're most anticipated rock and metal albums of 2022. And I'll probably read these again on Patreon. But so this is Loudwire's list. So it's Alter Bridge, whose last album, Walk the Sky, came out in 2019. Anthrax, whose last album was For All Kings in 2016. Arch Enemy, whose last album, Will to Power, came out in 2017. Avenged Sevenfold, whose The Stage came out in 2016, was not a fan of The Stage at all, and I really liked the previous few albums. Loudwire has Avril Lavigne, Head Above Water, 2019. Blink 182, 9 was released in 2019. Bring Me the Horizon, Survival Horror, came out in 2020. Disturbed's Evolution came out in 2018. I bought that album because they have one song that's really good off of it. It was the first single. Loved it. Rest of the album is a stinker, my opinion. Five Finger Death Punch. Last album, F8, came out in 2020. Ghost prequel came out in 2018. Godsmack, When Legends Rise, came out in 2018. Guns N' Roses, who just released or is about to release the Hard School EP. Previous to that, Chinese Democracy in 2008. And Slash has said that there is a full album worth of music that they are working on. So let's see what ends up happening with that. Hailstorm, last album, Vicious, came out in 2018. That's the first Hailstorm album that I really went, yeah, I get it now. Korn, Requiem, coming out February 4th. The Nothing came out in 2019. I almost pre-ordered that today. So I have that. I have a reissue for, this kind of goes into Jeremy's question. War of Words by Fight, which is being reissued here in Europe after being reissued in the States 2 years ago. And Rock Believer by Scorpions, deluxe issue. I have all those open, and actually a Kill Switch Engage reissue as tentative things that I may buy. I want to hear more from Rock Believer because the last Scorpions album I pre-ordered and did not like it at all. But we'll see. Lamb of God. The last album was their self-titled in 2020. Machine Gun Kelly, blow your horn. Seriously? Last album came out in 2020. Any Machine Gun Kelly fans out there? Megadeth, The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead to be announced. Last album was Dystopia 2016. Metallica to be announced. Hardwired to Self-Destruct is 2016. Motionless in White, who's been releasing EPs. They have a tentative summer release. The last thing they released was 2019's Disguise, Muse, Simulation Theory 2018. The last two Muse releases have kind of lost me. They're okay, but not as good as their earlier stuff. Nita Strauss to be announced. Last album, Controlled Chaos 2018. Ozzy, Ordinary Man 2020. That's an album that I'm looking forward to. Papa Roach, Who Do You Trust, came out in 2019. Paramore, After Laughter, came out in 2017. Porcupine Tree, which will come out on June 22nd, I guess it says. On my father's birthday, actually. Closure, Continuation. Last album was Incidental, 2009. Rammstein, Untitled, came out in 2019. Red Hot Chili Peppers, last album was The Getaway in 2016. They're a band that's getting a lot of crap from the cancel culture. Sabaton, The War to End All Wars, March 4th. Hey, what a shock. They're going to have an album with lyrics about war. What a surprise. The Great War came out in 2019. Scorpions, Rock Believer, April 25th. We just talked about Return to Forever, came out in 2015. Shinedown, last album was Attention in 2018. Skillet. I don't know one person that likes this band. I've asked this several times, and I know nobody that likes them. Victorious, 2019. It's the last album. February 11th is Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and The Conspirators. The album is named 4. Slipknot, they've released a new song, The Chapeltown Rag. And We Are Not Your Kind dropped in 2019. There'll be something about that album on Patreon soon. Smashing Pumpkins, last album, Sire, came out in 2020. 3 Days Grace, Explosion, comes out May 6th. I really liked the first 2 3 Days Grace album, but they lost me after that. Not to say that it's terribly bad, it just became really generic. So the last album was Outsider 2018. Under Oath, Voyeurist, Erase Me came out in 2018. We Came as Romans. Cold Like War came out 2017. Weezer, who released Van Weezer in 2020. And all right, so that's Loudwire's album list of top anticipated, 38 most anticipated rock and metal albums for 2022. Are any of those on your list? Yeah, the Saxon is coming out. I saw the pre-order for that. So here's Kerrang's list. Kerrang has Paramore, Avenged Sevenfold, Ghost. Okay, so we're overlapping. Avril Lavigne. The Nova Twins, which is a duo which is really popular in the UK, but has like zero traction in the US. Very little traction. Metallica, okay, Slipknot, Ozzy. High Power, who I've never heard the band before, but if Kerrang is mentioning them, they obviously have to be important. Code Orange, who has recently said that they're just going to be releasing singles for the time being. The last single that they released last month was really good, in my opinion. New Billy Talent. I was actually sent the promo for that. I have not had a chance to listen to it yet. Venom Prison, who didn't get rave reviews on Patreon. Bring Me the Horizon, Blink 182, and Zeal and Ardor. Zeal and Ardor, I believe I had the promo sent to me this week. Parkway Drive, Rollo Tomasi, Rammstein, Conjurer, Weezer, Paris. Let's see. And Behemoth. So that's their list. So any other albums that you guys are looking forward to in 2022? Yeah. Brad actually responded to Jeremy's "Tell Brad to retire" poor excuse. He wrote back, "Duly noted." So Brad, looking forward to the Saxon as well. Let me see what I have, because I have a list of albums, release dates. Next is the 14th. So on the 14th, we have the new Tony Martin album. We have an album by a band called Maul, which sounds like old school Iron Maiden. 21st, we have Ashes of Aries, which is Matt Barlow, former lead singer of Iced Earth. Billy Talent gets released that day as well. Diamond Dogs. January 28th, new album by Praying Mantis and Crystal Ball, who I've played on Patreon. You guys seem to enjoy. February 4th, the new Korn. The Michael Romeo from Symphony X releases a solo album. My new boss is sitting right here, trying not to quit during her first week. There you go. Zeal and Ardor comes out on February 11th. Annihilator Metal 2 comes out February 18th. Dagobah, who I played on Patreon or added their video on Patreon, you guys seem to like. Yeah, the Tony Iommi solo in the works. I mean, there's always rumors. Hammerfall on February 25th. On May 4th, we have a new Marillion album. And the Flower Kings, March 18th. Nothing yet. March 25th, Animal as Leaders. April 4th, North Lane. April 8th, Destruction. And April 15th, Erford. So those are all the things that I have so far. Again, tomorrow I have to set up the Patreon videos for the week, so that list may expand. The Annihilator album, Jeremy, is a re-record of an album that he did years ago. The album was called Metal. And I guess because they couldn't get the complete rights to the original, they re-recorded it, and it doesn't have all of the like original duets that the original album had. So it's called Metal 2. So I don't know if that original version will be coming out or not. I mean, what I heard, it's one of these things where, okay, sure, you've got Dave Lombardo on it, you've got Stu Block, another former Iced Earth singer, which sounded kind of all right, but the original version kind of had a special sound to it. That's kind of what I'm going for. So, anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. First show of 2022. Let's see what next Friday brings us. Maybe we'll have a guest of some sort. But we're going to be wrapping things up now. I want to thank Jeremy. I want to thank Rob Rowe. I want to thank Jose. And I want to thank Brad Dahl for all joining us in the chat. CEO Dave, if you're out there listening, thank you for for listening. Rob, hopefully we get you back on Patreon for the greatest live albums of all time. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching live. Thanks for listening to the replay, watching the replay, all that good stuff. Let's make 2022 as great as we possibly can. Fill it with a lot of great music and talk about music. And yeah, I will see you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream, brought to you by the Mars Attacks podcast, MarsAttacksRadio.com. And go there for all the links and all that great stuff surrounding the live stream and the podcast. In any event, we will see you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream. Yeah.